Good morning, MSB Universe. Today is Monday, June 20th, which means yesterday, Father's Day, June 19th, was the season finale of the 2022 regular season. And oh boy, what a week we had. We had three matchups on the slate, two separate locations. We had by M&S Park, we had Bnei Malachim taking on the first place Maskil El Dal Society, aka Club Med. And we'll get into each matchup one at a time. And the result of the games, what was the final result of the seeding and how the playoffs and the playoff picture is looking right now. So that matchup, we had Maskil El Dal taking on Bnei Malachim, and Bnei Malachim, and the only way Bnei Malachim, after yesterday's games, for them to end up, let alone not in a play-in game or the wild card, the only way for them to end up in the top three seeds, they needed so much help, and they needed to obviously take care of business on their own. And that's exactly what happened. Two well-played games. We had a 2-0 score in game two. They won by, which means Diamondstein once again lit up the scoreboard with those zeros, and he was unbelievable, obviously shutting down that lineup. And also in game one, it was a 6-5 game. So two really well-played games. I should tell you that Maskil El Dal did clinch the first seed going into the week. They had zero to play for no matter what the results of the schedule were. So they weren't going to come with their A game, and give credit to Bnei Malachim for taking care of business, Ralph Lamishama's team, and it's exactly what they did. Took care of business, and then let's move to the other location by Dow Avenue, where a lot more high leverage games took place. We had on Dow Avenue, field number 1, the Sephardic Food Fund, who needed a lot of help. But essentially, if they took care of business on their own and won 2 games, really whatever happened around them, they probably would have got themselves into a position to at least either finish that suspended game from week 1 that was not completed, or even get themselves into a playing game. But all they had to do was win. Game 1 of that matchup, we had Edmund Beta on the mound going up against Mark Cohen. The Sephardic Food Fund, that team, they kind of rallied at the start of that trade where they made. Then they faltered a bit, and they got themselves in position where they needed to kind of win out. Game 1, it was a spectacular game. A game that went to 9 innings, 2 really well-pitched, evenly played games, great defensive plays. You had runners thrown out at the plate in extra innings. We had big-time defensive plays in big spots. But fast forward towards the end, and the SBH prevailed. Edmund Beta ended up holding strong, and big-time hit. I believe it was a sac fly to end it, or a base hit to end the game, and a walk-off in the bottom of the 9th inning, and SBH, they notched game 1, which put now Sephardic Food Fund in a very precarious situation where they needed to win, and they needed a lot of help. What happened was, game 2 was a tight game up until the end, and then it ended up being an 11-1 final. It ended up being a rout, and the Food Fund ended up meekly going away, and they are eliminated from playoff contention. Which means, with those 2 victories, SBH has locked themselves in to the number 2 seed. Now, back on the other field, the third matchup, we had Safe going up against the Community Assistance Fund. Now, the Community Assistance Fund was set up. They were controlling their own destiny. I believe if they would have won 1 game, they guaranteed themselves into a play-in game. And if they win 2 games, they are automatically in the playoffs, whether it be in the top 3 or in the wild card. It would have depended on Bnei Malachim's matchup, but they would have been in the wild card. They would have been a wild card team. This team was loaded. You had Aldi having a great year on his comeback year in center field. You have Yaakov Surya, wreaking havoc, playing first base. You had Yanki Itzkowitz doing all the little things and all the things that he does statistically and on and off the field. And their team with bookend on right field and left field with 2 very, very impressive rookies, Leo Sutton and Albert Cohen. All in all, they had a really good team. Jackie Schwecke holding his own on the mound. Got to give him credit at his age, really keeping his team in the game. But at the end of the day, they went up against a team that was desperate for wins. That's the Safe squad. The rookie campaign on the mound for Joe Sefarati. And got to give credit where credit's due. A sweep took place. And I didn't get a chance to view much of the game because I had to be more a part of the other matchup for other reasons. And, again, like I said, you got to give credit where credit's due. It was a 4-all game in the 7th inning, I believe. and it ended up being, I believe, a 8-6 final of Game 1. Safe took Game 1, and then Game 2, behind an offensive explosion from Lawrence Kurtz, who ended up having a tremendous year at the plate for Team Safe. I believe yesterday he hit 2 home runs and had 5 or 6 hits with a ton of RBIs. Safe, give them credit, they swept the Community Assistance Fund, and because the final outcomes of the other fields of B'nai Malachim winning 2 and the Food Fund losing 2 and the Community Assistance Fund losing 2, the 2 teams that missed the playoffs were number 1. The Community Assistance Fund ended up in the 6th seed, and dead last was Sephardic Food Fund, and which means our wild card matchup is set, which is the 4 versus the 5. And due to the fact that you should know, the last 3 seeds were 6-6 to end the season, and we had a 3-way tiebreaker at 6-6. And because the head-to-head, if you look at all those 3 teams, Team B'nai Malachim ended up 3-1 against those 3 teams, so they automatically elevate to the 3 seed, which is miraculous in its own right. Which left the last 2 seeds was the 6-6. Morty Shrem Care Squad, which we'll get to right now. And then finally, the Safe team that also ended their regular season 6-6 after their late season surge, which sets up the wild card game. The wild card game, we have the 6-6, 2 6-6 teams taking each other on, and that game will, God willing, be taking place at 8 o'clock in the morning on the day of the semis, Be'ezrat Hashem, weather permitting. Hopefully we have good weather at 8 o'clock before the semis. The winner of that 1 9-inning game right away takes on the first place team, the first seeded team, which will be waiting in the wings, being able to observe and watching everything before their eyes. So they're going to get the deal extra early, and they're going to see what happens in that game. So now you can look at the advantage of the wild card team. They're coming in hot, but they also have to play a total of 3 games regardless, whether... So they're going to have a little bit of a more tired situation. But Ray Sakal is the pitcher of Team Care, and the pitcher Joseph Arati of Team Safe. They're both pretty strong individuals, and they should have enough resolve. But again, last year, Ray Sakal, we saw him faltering when he got tired. So he might come in hot, but he's got to preserve his energy. Either way, that wild card game, I believe, is going to be one for the ages. We have a really talented Care team, which ends up with the 4 seed, and you have Jack Harari at third base. You have Morty Shrem at shortstop. You have just a really good, like I said, Sakal. You have Sasson having an amazing year in the outfield. Just a really good team, that Care team. They never really brought it all together, but time is now. They ended the season respectably 500, but if you ask me, they underperformed for their team and their caliber team. But they are in the dance, and let's see what happens. And this Safe squad, they got hot at the right time. They made a bunch of trades at the end by the trade deadline, obviously improved their team. They acquired Soli Estes, got younger, a trade that actually worked out for both squads. And really, it's going to be, this is anybody's game. It's a 9-inning game. Usually crazy things happen in the 9-inning game. But if you had to ask me, the better team is Team Care, but the hotter team is Team Safe. So who am I taking? If I had to pick one, it's tough because usually the hot team prevails over the better team, but I am taking, again, this could go either way because based on what I'm saying, but I'm taking Team Care to advance and go to the semifinals, and Morty Shrem will bring his squad back to the semis. We know last year he lost in the playoffs to that Rubble on the double team. So I know Morty wants to get back there and eventually get to the World Series, but we'll see what happens after that. Then Morty Shrem's team will be taking on, like we said, the first place Maskil El Dal Club Med squad. And listen, there is something to the fact that a lot of the guys are traveling from the 5 towns to deal, and that drive is not something they're accustomed to, but they will be getting there early enough to stretch. And last year in the semifinals, a Dan Braun team, that Mamba mentality team, they were literally 1 inning away of going to the World Series, and if it wasn't for a miscue by their third baseman, they would have been in the World Series. They put themselves in position. It's a lot of the same characters that were on that team last year that are on the team this year, all of Dan Braun's boys, and I think that they are just better. Dan Braun's having a spectacular year, ERA leader, and lowest walks, and he's just doing a dominant job all around from the starting pitching end. And I think that's going to make a difference. I think Ray Sakal might get a little tired on his second and third games of the day. And Dan Braun has that, mentality where He did win the World Series on old school, so he knows what it takes. And last year he had a bitter disappointment where he had a first-place Mamba mentality team and he didn't advance to the World Series. So I do believe Dan Braun will punch his ticket to the World Series, which leaves us to the second semifinal matchup. And by the way, I think it's going to be a sweep. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to 3, and I wouldn't be surprised if Care wins, or I wouldn't be surprised if Care doesn't even make it that far. But again, it's all my predictions. Now, on to the second semifinal matchup. The 2 versus the 3. You have Edmund Beta on the mound. This is locked in. You have Edmund Beta on the mound for SBH. Had a very solid year, turned it on late. And then you have, obviously, one of the best offensive single seasons we've ever seen by a player in MSB history and BKS history and whatever the name of the league was 50 years ago. Stephen Gindy led the league in average, won the batting title, led the league in slugging, was a few away from the RBIs, led the league in home runs, led the league in OBP, led the league in walks, tied for the league lead in runs. I mean, the numbers are on and on and on. What he did cannot go understated, and they're coming together at the right time. They have a really good, solid group of role players around them, and everyone knows what their job is. And guys like Aaron Levy are types of glue guys. Their outfield knows where to be at the right time. Their infield just plays really strong together. They have a lot of cohesiveness, and they're an impressive squad. They're a second-place team for a reason. They're going against the number 3 seed, that the Bnei Malachim squad that ended up just getting there. Menachem Diamondstein is the reason why they are where they are, because the last few weeks, Diamondstein is pitching like the ace that he was drafted to be, and that Ralph Lamasham has spent all that draft capital on. And now Diamondstein, he's hot. I know he just won the World Series in the Tahina League last week, and I know he pitched back-to-back dominant weeks on Memorial Day on M&S Park, and then yesterday by M&S Park, so he's in a groove. I know he's also, a few months after marriage, maybe his head is in a really good place right now, and he's laser focused, but it can't go understated the defense of that team. That defense is carrying them. They're not a big offensive team, but their defense has been strong all around. Wama plays shortstop with the best of them. He's the reigning Gold Glove winner. Underrated, big shout out to Albert Dweck, who always was known to not really have much of a glove at short center field. They moved him to third base, and he's doing a really good job at third. I witnessed it with my own eyes, and you got to tip the cap where the cap tip is due. Joe B having probably pacing their offense the best possible way, and you have little Poppy, and Chunk was helping them at second base. That acquisition of Melech behind the plate probably was the most important acquisition, was to help bring that group together. Whether he's having a good offensive year or not, he's always good as a glue type guy to bring everyone together. Team is good, bottom line. They're good enough to be the 3 seed, even though they could have been good enough to not make the playoffs with the way the parity shaped up this year. So now you have the 2 versus the 3. You have a hot Diamondstein pitcher with good defense and some timely offense going up against, to me, a better team in SBH all around with the MVP on the team. And I'm going to go against the grain on this one, and I'm going to pick Bnei Malachim in 3. I think it's going to be a great series. I think Edmund Beta is going to be battling till the end. I don't see any blowouts happening. I see some pitcher duels, and it's going to be a good series. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I see the World Series matchup, if I had to predict, again, predictions sure to go wrong. Almost everything I say usually goes wrong. But I see a Diamondstein on the mound going up against Dan Braun on the mound. I see, if I had to guess, it's going to be Bnei Malachim, that's the Ralph Lamashama team in the World Series, going up against the Dan Braun first place Club Med squad. And God willing, we'll have the World Series after the tournament, because the following week, July 4th, we are off because we are off of the CARE tournament, and hopefully we'll have a winner soon. Look out today. The ballots for the awards will be going out either today or tomorrow. I have to update the stats on the ballot, and please cast your vote. And please submit, because on Friday the ballots are closing, and we will have our Gold Glove winners, and we will have all of our other awards that we're going to be looking on the ballot. So look out for that. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I try to get as much in as possible in under 15 minutes, and I'm pretty sure I accomplished that. I'm looking at it 14:23, and I'll see you all on the field next week. Starting postseason. This is what it's all about. This is why we play the game, boys, and I'm excited. And have a great week. And that's it. Let's play some ball. We're in the postseason, gentlemen. We're in the postseason.